Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to episode 3 of the series. Today we're going to be going over how to build an endpoint management server, as well as deploying it to the Windows endpoint behind the Miami data plane on the Miami firewall. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. So first things first, we want to connect to our management machine so we can open up Smart Console and connect to the management server. Alright, so we're on the management machine. Let's go ahead and fire up Smart Console. Alright, so what we're going to want to do is we're going to host the endpoint management server on the management server itself. So to do that, what we'll do is we'll just double click on the object. And what we're going to want to do is simply just select the endpoint policy management feature. Again, also referred to as a blade in checkpoint terminology. And it says to complete the endpoint security management configuration, perform install database on your endpoint management server. Okay, so let's go ahead and click OK. And to install the database, what we want to do is come all the way up here into the top left-hand corner and click on Install Database. Okay, go ahead and click on Install. And publish and install. I don't know if I don't think we've talked about this before or if we run into this, but essentially what you want to do is, give your session name something that's applicable to what you're doing, and provide a brief description would be best practice. So an example of that would be, endpoint policy management, enable of the blade. Okay, and do publish and install. Should take a couple minutes or so, depending on the resources of your host machine and the amount of resources allocated to your management. So we'll hang tight and come back when that's finished. All right, database installed successfully on management. So at this point, what we want to do is actually fire up Smart Endpoint so we can connect to the endpoint management console, which is different than Smart Console. So we can actually go ahead and close this and search for Smart Endpoint. Okay, probably make a shortcut of that as well. Pin the taskbar for now. Okay, credentials are going to be the same. Okay, proceed. All right, so it says welcome to Checkpoint Smart Endpoint. It says the endpoint management server does not contain any endpoint client packages. Would you like to get the latest client packages from Checkpoint Download Center? Typically, you can click yes on this. Depending on your internet speed and the connection to Checkpoint, could take a fair amount of time to do this. But if you have some, spare time, go ahead and click on yes. That's not an issue. What I'm going to do is I manually downloaded the packages, and I'll actually be importing it. So I'll show you that process as well, if that's something that you're interested in. Okay. So to actually go ahead and do that, we'll go to the deployment section here. Just to quickly go over this is where you would essentially have your software deployment rule. So you can see that there's just one right now, which is the default settings for the entire organization, which you can see in this column here. It applies to entire organization. And right now it says actions do not install. Okay. So what we want to do is actually right click on this and go to manage client versions. Okay. So at this point you have the same option that you had before, which is load the latest supported client from the internet, load a folder containing client installers, or load client installer file. So let's go ahead and open up the file that I downloaded. Oh, I'm inside the VM. That would help, wouldn't it? So we have, I just downloaded, where is it? Oh, right here. CP underscore EPS underscore E82.50 underscore clients. So let's actually import this over into the management machine. Okay. What you want to do is extract it. So we can use the second option, which was select a folder containing endpoint clients. All right, and there we go. So what this is it's a bunch of different builds of essentially including different blades. And so let's actually go ahead and take a look at what pops up when we go to load the folder containing client installers. So if we go here, go to select folder, and I'll go ahead and search. We can see here that there's multiple different packages. So you can deploy various versions with only certain blades, but this is all essentially customizable as well in the packages for export section. But what we want to do, I'm not really interested in all these other packages, and just to save space on the management server, I'm just going to upload the 64-bit, okay, and the initial client. So, if you guys have had a small hard drive and you only created the management server with, very small, like less than 100 gigs, then I wouldn't really recommend uploading all of them just for storage reasons. And, for testing, it's not necessarily required. So I'm just going to do master full x64 and new DA. Okay, so let's do it again. Okay, so we do have the endpoint initial client for Windows, any CPU, and then endpoint for just 64 with the full suite. Okay, so quickly just talk about endpoint initial client is essentially going to be your jumpstart file, which once it's just the agent that gets installed on the machine without any blades, and then it'll actually pull from the management server the remaining blades. That way you don't have to deploy the entire large package all at once, but depending on your environment, it's essentially how you see fit. While we're waiting, actually, I'll show you where to get the local file if that's what you're interested in doing. Let's go to support.checkpoint.com. And you can go to endpoint security homepage. And then you can just click on download here. Endpoint security clients for Windows. And that's how I got the zip file. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. We both have these both uploaded, and now we can actually access that down here in the bottom left-hand corner. Okay, and just to quickly go into what I was referring to before, was you have your packages for export here. You can go to add package. It says 32-bit machines are not supported because I didn't upload that package. And you can see here that the full suite package is available here. And you can actually click on this and go to download package, and you can use this package for deployment remove that for right now. And let's go back to software deployment rules. I'm going to change this. Okay. Selected blades. Have all of these enabled. And what we'll do is actually install policy. Currently doesn't have anti-malware signatures. Update installed. Okay, you can do this if you'd like. I'm just going to skip it for right now, just so we can get around to testing. Okay, just say installation completed successfully. So, digging around in the Smart Endpoint, there's a lot of different options. I'll give you guys a quick little overview, and I'll leave a link to the admin guide in the description below where you can really kind of dig deep into each particular setting. But essentially, you can come here to the policy section. That's where you'd go into the advanced settings for each particular blade/feature that we have on our endpoint. And you can come in here and do like various features such as like whitelisting, excluding specific folders from scanning. You can do really, anything you can think of. It's very granular, and it's very catering towards individual organizations as far as the types of enforcement that they want to have. So for example, media import protection, allow reading any data from storage device is the default setting, while encrypting business related data. So you can always just plug in a storage device and you could read from anything, but you won't be able to write to it unless it's the encrypted partition on that media device. Okay. And I can create another video really getting deep into building out a policy, but just for the scope of this video, I would like to deploy it and have a successful deployment to our Windows machine, and we can go from there. Okay, users and computers. What I will go over right now is virtual groups. This is probably the most important thing here. This is where you can really come and take a look at once machines are deployed. You can see the machines inside of the groups. You can also go to new virtual group and create a group that you can then specify policy towards that group in whichever particular way you want. And so what I mean by that is you can say, like no anti-bot group, for example. Okay. And where do we want to put it? Let's put it in, let's put it in virtual groups. I don't have any targets right now, but we can just put all desktops for right now. But essentially anything in the no anti-bot group is going to, you can spec out a policy. So for example, we can go to, we'll just clone rule for right now. Okay, select entity. So we'd want to go to no anti-bot. It's not letting us do it. Oh, here we go. Was it not working from the clone rule? Oh, it wasn't checking it. Okay. So let's do no anti-bot. Finish. And we see here that instead of it being applied to the entire organization, it's applied to the no anti-bot virtual group, which in this case contains all desktops, which you could obviously change depending on how you see fit. And we can go in here and actually just disconnect, not disconnect, but uncheck Sandblast Agent Antibot, and now you have a policy for a specific virtual group where they only get a certain number of blades. Okay. So let's go ahead. I'm going to remove this for right now. get rid of that group just for right now. I'm just going to save push policy, get ready for deployment. There are no changes. Okay, that's fine. So what we want to do now is download the initial client. Okay. And sure, well, let's just put it on the desktop for right now. Okay, we should see it appear here. Refresh, there it is. All right, so this is the initial deployment. You know, in a real environment, you can deploy this using SCCM, group policy, PDQ, whatever your favorite MSI kind of pusher application of choice. But for this purposes, just gonna simply do a copy and paste. I don't think we could do it laterally, but if we go to the host, first we can do it. Yeah, we can't do it laterally, so. If we do this though, copy and then go back into the Windows endpoint, and it should work. All right. So let's go ahead and double click this. Oh, no password. There we go. All right, successfully installed Checkpoint Endpoint Agent. And let's hang tight and give this a couple minutes, and we should see it start pulling in. All right, so we actually just received our first notification. It says Checkpoint Endpoint Security product scheduled for installation. So it has a successful connection to the Endpoint Policy Management server, and it's going to start pulling in those blades. Okay, you're gonna have this little animated icon. Let's see, yeah, still nothing when you right click on it. We'll give it a couple more minutes and check back. All right, we just got an update. It says package download succeeded. Okay, so it's still installing it, but the download is finished. So we should be wrapping up here in a couple minutes. All right, and now it says the endpoint security client is attempting to install. During installation, all open network connections will close. Please note when done, the computer will restart. Make sure to save your work, etc. So you do have the option to postpone if you're, pushing this to a production environment during work hours. Obviously, this is a very good feature, but for this particular scenario, let's go ahead and just click on install now. Okay, then you'll be receiving this message if you're watching it, and it's going to reboot. All right, the machine is successfully rebooted. So let's go ahead and log in. And if all goes well, we should have our Sandblast agent successfully installed. All right, let's give it a minute or so. Let everything load up, and we should see it down there. Okay, so we do see it's down here. Let's right click on it and go to display overview. Okay, it says 2 security warnings were discovered. One of them is just that the machine was not scanned yet with the anti-malware blade. And it does say that it is waiting for a policy for full disk encryption, which we didn't set. So in this case, these security warnings can be ignored. If you'd like, you can do the anti-malware scan to get rid of that one. But that's it. So we have a Windows endpoint successfully enrolled and with communication to our endpoint policy management server. So let's go ahead and take a look and see. There's not really too many settings here on the client side. You can take a look and see the installed policies. Okay, you have some logging features here, viewing logs, collecting, and of course, once you have an event triggered, you can dig into the forensics report. So you can come in here and you'll see an infection and a report generated. Okay. All right, and I just wanted to wait for that last part there. We do see that it's online here in the bottom left-hand corner. This is very important. You want to make sure that you have that status, otherwise there may be a connectivity issue to the endpoint policy management server. And that'll do it for this episode of the series. I just wanted to walk you through this scenario, and we can definitely dig a little bit deeper into building out policy if you guys are interested in that. All right, thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for episode 4. All right, have a good one and stay safe. Bye bye.